Awesome. Okay. Anything anything bothering anybody today as far as like hips? Okay.
My knees.
Knees. All right. Anything else? Brains.
I got a black snake out of my pool.
I can't do anything about the black snake. Sorry. All right.
I don't like snakes.
I get you. Snakes are good though. All right. So let's start off with knees bent. Start off with knees bent and feet flat. And let's actually just fold over the legs and just hang out here for a sec. So just taking a few deep breaths, allowing that back to relax. And trying to clear your head. So whatever was going on outside before you got here, try to let that go. And inhale, let's take the hands, reach them behind you. Just open the chest up toward the ceiling. Nice big breaths, trying to expand through the rib cage as you inhale. Filling up all that space. Again, big breath in. We're going to exhale one more time. Fold it over those feet. If you want to, you can even massage into the feet if you want to touch your feet. Try to let those shoulder blades move away from the spine. So I'm going to inhale, come on up. Let's place the hands behind us again and just kind of windshield wiper the knees back and forth. You're going to drop the knees all the way down to one side. Big stretch through the side of the hips and the back. Okay, stop yawning, sorry. Inhale, move those knees through the center. Exhale as you drop them off to the other side. And we're going to inhale through. Go ahead and drop the knees off. Let's plant a hand behind and just rotate. There we go. So we're trying to turn away from the top of those thighs. So you want to feel like your belly button and your chest are kind of turning toward the back. And you might get a big stretch here on the side of your body. Again, we're going to inhale. Let's move past the front. Drop those knees off. Hand on top of the thighs and twist. There you go. So you're going to have that hand planted right behind you, and you're getting a big twist away from those legs. So turning all the way back, face the opposite direction. Awesome. Let's inhale, come back to the front. We're going to send the legs out long. I'm going to actually just move my mat here. All right, send the legs out nice and long. You can bob the knees if you need to. Placing the hands right next to the hips. We're going to spread out the fingers and we're going into staff pose. So feel like you're pushing actively through the floor as if you're trying to pick the body up off of the mat. So we're lifting through the chest, feeling as though we're trying to hover our hips, even though we don't actually have to do that. Nice and strong through the chest, through the sides. Big breath in. We're going to exhale, relax those hands. Go ahead and fold it over those legs, stretching toward the ankles. Couple more breaths. If your body starts to relax, you can stretch down a little further. We're going to inhale to draw up. Let's bring a leg in and make a figure four. Okay, and just sitting up tall for a second, sinking those hips down. And then we're going to very gently reach those hands forward, folding over that leg. So legs are straight in front of us today. Remember, you're just trying to find a sticking point. So if the hip or the back of the leg feels kind of tight, you're just folding over until you feel that pull. And you can hang out there. You don't have to flatten your body out to your leg. We're going to inhale to draw up. Let's take that leg, bring the knee up off of the floor so we're keeping it on the same side of the leg. We're going to wrap the opposite arm around and get a little twist. So not like before where we were twisting all the way to the back. Instead, we're just looking to the side, looking at the dead spider in the corner. Keeping that chest lifted, 2 more breaths. We're going to turn back to the front. We're going to take that leg and cross it over the extended leg. And if this is your left leg, you're going to take your left arm on the inside or vice versa. So same side arm on the inside. We're going to place a hand behind and then twist away from that leg. So my butt cheek is actually picking up off of the mat here. And I'm getting a really big twist around. It's almost as though you're trying to turn to look behind you again. One more breath in. As you exhale, we're going to return to the front. We're going to let that knee just flop over, staying right there on top of that leg. If you want, you can take a sec and just push down on that knee. Opening up through the hip. So we're pushing that knee away from our chest. From here, we're going to put both hands behind. Let's bend the straight leg. Start bringing that inside of your thigh up towards your chest. There you go. So you're only coming up as far as your hip's going to let you go. So don't crank your leg all the way up. Try to feel what's going on in these external rotators and then come up as far as you need in order to get a little stretch there. Keeping that chest lifted. Try to now pull that belly button forward. So rather than rounding your back, pick your belly button up as if you're reaching it toward the bottom of that leg. That'll feel extra stretchy. Two more breaths in and out. All right, we're going to extend that leg. Go ahead and take that leg off the top. You can bob your knees out for a sec. Alrighty, so we're gonna start with our figure 4 again on the other side. So bringing that foot in, making that figure 4 shape, and we're gonna extend those hands out toward the extended leg. Folding forward until we feel a little pull in the back of the leg or in the hip, and then we're hanging out there. Couple more breaths. Very good. We're going to inhale to draw up. Let's take that knee that's off to the side. We're just going to pick that leg up. So keeping that foot in on this side of the straight leg. We're going to cross the opposite arm over and slight twist to the side. So this is going to feel more like you're pulling this leg across and getting a big stretch here on the side of the hip, on the outside. One more breath in. We're going to exhale. Let's turn to face the front. We're going to take that leg, cross it over to the other side. Now we're planting a hand behind us, and same side arm goes on the inside of your thigh, and we're twisting away. Yep. So I'm actually picking this butt cheek up off of the mat just to get more of a twist. You don't have to, but you'll feel more of a twist, more similar to what we did earlier with both legs on the mat. Two more breaths. Now, as we return to the front, so you're going to keep that leg crossed. Just drop the knee down. You can keep that leg, that hand propped over on the side, and you're going to press down on that knee. Fall over here. Pressing down on that top knee. If things are tight in your hips, you're going to feel maybe a little pull here on the inside of the hip. You might feel something on the outside. If they're not tight, then there's no problem with just kind of working this range of motion. Couple more breaths. We're going to take that hand, place it behind us to keep our balance. We're going to bend the straight leg, pull that in, and once again, we're getting deeper into those hip rotators. Same as before, you can start to get a little lift in your chest. Feel like you're rolling your pelvis forward. You're moving your belly button in toward this bottom half of your leg. Another way to think about it is like you're going to sink your tailbone in toward the mat, but that rolling motion gives you more of a stretch here on the side of that hip. Back is nice and straight. Give it a couple more breaths, but if you want to stay here longer, you can. Awesome. When you're ready, go ahead and release those legs. Bob the knees out if you need it. And we're going to move forward onto the mat, onto hands and knees. Onto hands and knees. Let's curl the toes under. Stretch those toes out. So try to spread out each of those toes as much as you can. We're going to set the hips back. Little stretch back. If the knees are bugging you, don't sit all the way back. Just go back as far as you can handle. Settling back, stretching those feet. Let's move the body forward. Inhale, stretching through those wrists. And then exhale again, setting the hips back only as far as you can handle, stretching out those toes, stretching out your feet, moving through your hips. Couple breaths. You can walk the hands forward more if you need more of an opening feeling in your sides. And inhaling, coming forward. This time we're going to take one foot, extend it out behind you onto the mat. So toes are still tucked under. That foot is down, and we're going to move our weight back and get a little stretch through the back of that calf. If you're on one of the squishy mats, they might start to stretch. So if you need to put your foot on the floor, that might help. Little stretch here in the back of that leg. Give it 2 more breaths. And we're going to pull that leg forward, and then we're going to send the other leg back. So straightening out that other leg, foot is in contact with the floor. Pushing that heel down and away from the hips. So we're shifting our weight back. Two more breaths. Okay, let's bring that foot in. We're going to go into downward dog. So toes still curled under. We're going to set the hips back and up. Move the weight away from the hands. Try to take it back off of the wrists. Get as much of a lift in the tailbone as you can. Should feel a little easier to sink those heels down now since we did that preliminary stretch. 2 more breaths. And we're going to walk the feet forward. Walk the hands back. Give yourself a second to catch your balance, and then you can stand on up. And I have to move away from the camera, or it's going to cut my head off. That's rubber on the way. Awesome. All right, just giving yourself a second. We're going to stand with the feet shoulder width wide. You don't have to turn sideways. I'm just turning so that you can see. The feet is shoulder width wide. Spread out those toes on the mat. Just soften a little bit through the knees. We're going to take the palms, turn them forward. You can close your eyes for a moment. Stretching out through those fingers. Feel like your shoulders kind of corkscrew down onto your torso. So you're pulling those shoulders down from your ears, opening up through the neck. Big stretch across the chest. Since everything is nice and aligned, take a couple of breaths. Think about that midsection doing most of the breathing. So we're inhaling, expanding through the rib cage. And as we exhale, we're just going to relax through that midsection. And take those palms, bring them together at the level of the chest. So we're keeping that chest lifted. Elbows feel heavy, so elbows are pulling down. Give it a few breaths. We're going to clasp those fingers, big breath in, exhale, and stretch the hands up overhead. So you can start to get a little arch through the spine if you need it. Kind of release those fingers, clasp them behind the back. So same kind of general shape, we're clasping the fingers, straightening a little bit through the arms, pulling the elbows back, opening through the chest. Inhale, soften the knees, release those fingers. We're going to send the hips back, reach the hands down toward the mat. Softening through your low back and through your shoulders. If you need the extra pull on your shoulder blades, just fold your hands and allow them to pull on your shoulder blades. So we're gonna release those hands. Go ahead and bring the body back up. Awesome, so we're gonna do a balance pose. If you feel like you need the wall, you can move closer to the wall. If you wanna challenge yourself here on the mat, you can. We're gonna start with picking a foot that we're gonna stand on. We're gonna spread out those toes. So we're trying to anchor down into the floor. So you should feel like you're kind of pushing into that squishiness, or if you're on the hard floor, pushing those toes down into the floor. And we're gonna bring one foot in, just making our base smaller to start with. And obviously if this is challenging enough, then just hang out here. Don't lock this knee. Let this knee be a little bit bent. It just helps stop you from falling over as quickly. All right, so we are going to pull, oh, we're gonna fall over. We're gonna pull the leg up the side to start. Just off to the side. And if you pick a spot on the floor to stare at, that might help a little bit. I keep looking around and I'm gonna fall over. Now, if you are okay with your balance here, if you feel somewhat comfortable, try to cross that leg over the other. So just like that figure 4 we did on the floor, but now we're standing and it's harder. And once again, if you get comfortable in this position, if you can reach your ankle, try to pull that leg up towards your hip crease. Once again, if you have a wall there or something to hold on to, that will help you not go kersplat on the floor. So this is called a half lotus, in case you care. Now, whatever position you're in, whether your foot is way up high or you're still in a figure 4, we're gonna try to keep those toes connected to the floor, shift your hips slightly to the rear, and allow your body to fold slightly forward. So I would not expect you to like put your nose on the ground, but just shift your hips back, move that chest downward slightly. I know foot might be starting to cramp. One more big breath in. We're gonna exhale, drop that one down, shake out your foot in case it's a Charlie horse on you. And we're gonna do the same on the other side. This is the fun stuff you can practice on your own. So same thing, we're gonna spread out the toes onto the ground, onto the mat, trying to sink that foot down, sink those toes down and keep a constant connection to the floor. This knee is slightly bent so that we don't fall over like a dying tree. We're gonna pull our foot in, pull the other foot in to make that base smaller. And then we're very gently working that leg up our root leg so that we're on one foot. And just trying to maintain balance. Remember, you don't have to go through all the steps. Just find one that works for you, that challenges you, stick with that one. Don't feel like you have to rush to the next one. Now, if you are comfortable with this, you can cross the leg over. Once again, getting a feel for the position. And then if you want to tuck that foot up into your hip crease, you can grab hold. But make sure that you can stand in this position before moving on to the next one. Okay, so the last bit of this is hips shift slightly to the rear. We're folding the body forward so your chest is coming a little closer to the floor. If you're able to move your hips back, it helps you feel like you're not gonna fall on your face. So that's a hinge. Hinge your hips to the rear. Staring at that spot on the floor so you don't topple. 2 more breaths. Awesome, and when you're ready, you can stand straight up, let that foot go, let go, let go. All right, we're gonna go ahead and sit down onto the mat. If your feet started to cramp, give yourself a little foot massage again in case you need it. We're gonna try a funky one we haven't done in quite a while. We're gonna do the top half of a cow pose. So just cross your legs just so that they're not being taxed too much. We're gonna take one arm, stretch it straight up toward the ceiling. Once we're here, we're going to bend at the elbow and stretch it toward the back. So as far down the back as you can reach. Now, if you need extra help for a second, you can push back with your other arm. But what you're trying to do is keep this here while the other arm goes behind the back and reaches up toward those fingertips. If you have bendy shoulders, you would clasp those hands, but that's kind of hard to do. So just reaching, try to keep that lift in the chest. One more breath in. Exhale and release. Relax those shoulders for a sec. If this bugs your shoulders, don't push it. Don't crank your arms into that position. Just rest for this last one. Same thing here. We're going to take that other arm, stretch it up toward the ceiling, and then bend at the elbow. We're stretching as far back as our arm will let us go. If you need that extra push, then just anchor your hand to the back of your triceps for a sec. And then repeating with the other arm, we're stretching it behind and reaching it up and trying to clasp those fingers. Two more breaths. Trying to keep that chest lifted. Awesome. You can relax those hands whenever you're ready. Shake out your shoulders. We're going to go ahead and lay on down on the mat, either on your back or on your belly. So find your preferred position. You can close your eyes and rest these last few minutes. I'm going to lay here for another moment or two. Whenever you're all finished for today, you can stretch out or just sit up whenever you're all done.
Yeah, wasp.
I know there's two of them in here.
Oh, is that
We have a
one down
wasp problem.
there? Is that one down there?
That's a dead spider. To my online people, thanks for coming, and we'll be back on Wednesday.